Okay, hello and welcome. It is the 1st of August 2021, and today we're going to talk on Hughes of the World. Me, Graham Hughes, the only person so far to have been to every single country in the world without flying. Guinness World Record accredited. Got certificates and everything to prove it. Like, you know, my GCSEs and that curry hell certificate for eating that really hot curry in Newcastle years ago. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about Cambodia, or Cambodia, as it was known for a little bit. So let's break it down. Let's give an overview. It's described in the Lonely Planet book as the history of the places, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's fair enough, you know. Things were good in the early years, culminating in the Angkor Empire, and then the bad set in for the 13th century onwards as the neighbours, especially Thailand and Vietnam, steadily chipped away at any Cambodian territory it could get its hands on. And then in the 20th century, it turned downright ugly, with a brutal civil war culminating in the genocidal mania that was the Khmer Rouge, which ruled Cambodia with an iron fist from 1975 to January 1979. And Cambodia, in many ways, is still recovering from that brutal decade, actually. It's a whole decade because there was a civil war leading up to it as well. Cambodia is home to the world's largest religious building, sticking out of behind me here. This is the Angkor Wat. I should do that way, shouldn't I? This is the Angkor Wat here. And there's no McDonald's. There's no McDonald's in Cambodia. There are KFCs, but there are no McDonald's, and there are no traffic rules either. So if anyone's been there, you'll know what it's like trying to cross the road. It's a bit like the bit in Indiana Jones where he walks across the invisible bridge and he has to put his hand on his heart and just step out into the step out and just hope you don't freaking die. Yes, and some rules, some little formalities before we get started. In Cambodia, like in Thailand, your head is sacred. Do not touch other people's heads. Don't pat people on the head. Don't touch that fucking head. Okay? Just don't do it. Don't. The other thing is feet. Never ever sit with your legs crossed and like your foot up like that. You know, like crossed like this. And pointing the bottom of your foot towards someone. If you do, it's really, really rude. Okay? It's like kind of rudeness. Okay. And in Dubai, by the way, if you think about flipping someone the bird, do not do it in Dubai. You can be arrested for doing that in Dubai. I think maybe in Singapore as well, but I don't know how they feel about that in Cambodia. Don't think it's as offensive as pointing the bottom of your foot at anyone. And I am I'm all for this. I'm all for this. I'm a bit funny about feet. I have a bit of a phobia of feet. I'm a foot phobic. I'm sorry. I just am. Apologies. Okay. So, it's Doctor Who kept killing anyone. Oh shit, I've stumbled onto GB News. What? Hey, what? No, that's the wrong channel, mate. You want to get over here. No McDonald's sounds healthy. Jim Bob, an earthquake, tomato where? What? There's been an earthquake. What? I hope you're all right, Jim Bob. What, in Australia? There's been an earthquake. Oh, you have earthquakes in Australia. I thought it was all fairly stable. Why did the Scarecrow win the award? He was outstanding in his field. Hey, Duke Vengeance, did you hear about the magic tractor? Turned into a field. Thank God they got KFC, lol, says indeed. So other little peculiarities in Cambodia. Birthdays aren't a massive deal. But funerals are a massive deal, a big deal. But the biggest deal of all are weddings. Weddings can last for 3 days, and they go on all day and all night for 3 days. I mean, just parties and drinks. It's great. If you ever get invited to a Cambodian wedding, just say yes and go out and have fun. The present king of Cambodia, His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni, is a bachelor. And he doesn't have any kids. Doesn't have any heirs. So a bit like me at the front of my head. But there's no direct successor. So when he pops his clogs, who knows what's going to happen? And a little bit of word of warning for anyone who wants to visit Cambodia. I mean, look, it's a great place. I will enthuse as much as I possibly can about the place because I absolutely freaking love the bones of Cambodia and all of Southeast Asia, to be honest with you. But landmines, shit loads of landmines. There was still a lot of active landmines in the area. Between 4 and 6 million million mines are estimated to be still active, which is as many as 30 people dying every year from stepping on one of the little bastards. Cambodia, as a result, has the largest population of amputees caused by landmines in the world, and over 64,000 casualties have been recorded since the war against the Khmer Rouge ended in 1979. So the war ended in 79, and yet thousands and thousands of people are still dying as a result of the legacies of war. And it was probably the West that sold those landmines. Either also Russia, but you know. There's money to be made, so let's sell landmines. Britain was still selling landmines quite happily until about the mid 2000s, when there was a worldwide moratorium on their sale. But up until that point, we were quite happily selling landmines to the likes of the Indonesian government, which was currently bombing the living crap out of East Timor. Not great. The population of Cambodia is 16.5 million. So not a massive country. It's about 10 million smaller than Australia. It's bigger than New Zealand. About 3 times the size of Scotland in terms of population. The currency is the rial, but everyone uses dollars. In fact, you buy something in dollars in Cambodia, which you do a lot, you get the change in rial. So it's just like everyone just works out the maths in their head automatically. The GDP per capita, according to the Googles, in 2019 was $1,643 US, equating to just a few dollars a day for each person. Despite being one of the poorest countries in Asia, it received a whopping 5 million visitors in 2016, bringing in about $3 billion of income. Not all of those visitors were wanted, though. We will come on to that later. Also massively hit by COVID, which also we'll come on to later. The flag is here. This is the flag. And the red represents the people. Apparently it's not blood this time, it's the people. The blue represents royalty, I think. And the white is the priestly class. I don't know, religion, whatever. But that's a picture of the Angkor Wat, making Cambodia the only country in the world with a building on the flag, except for Afghanistan, which also has a building on the flag, and Bolivia, and Portugal, and San Marino, and Spain. But apart from all those countries, it's the only one. Okay, so buildings on flags, who knew? The religion there is the Theravada style of Buddhism. I don't know why I'm doing that for Buddhism. It's probably a bit racist, isn't it? You know, like I'm going to fight you because I'm a Buddhist monk who obviously is also a secret ninja. It's practiced by about 95% of the population. And it's the official religion of Cambodia. And the religion is also practiced in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar, Burma, and Thailand and Laos. Visas are available at the moment. Well, last time I went, were available on the border and at airports if you fly in. I've never flown in. I've only come in overland. I've made my way into Cambodia once through Thailand, once through Laos, and once through Vietnam. So there you go. I've done all 3. And they're the countries that surround it. So that's all good. The food. Got to stop you there. The food is freaking amazing. Now, they're a little bit obsessed with insects. Okay, I'll just make this very clear. If you go to Cambodia, you will be offered insects to eat. Cockroaches, crickets, beetles, that kind of thing. Now, in my experience, also a deep fried tarantula, which I haven't tried, and I will not because I hate spiders. I hate spiders almost as much as I dislike feet. They do like to have their insects. They do like to eat insects over there, which are full of protein. You know, good bit of protein. I was there in 2002. I remember a little old lady sitting next to me on the minibus coming over from Thailand. And she was sitting there and she was just breaking the heads off beetles and licking the insides and then throwing the shell away. Breaking the head off, lick the inside, throw the shell away. Like pistachios. It was like pistachios. And she had this big plastic bag, like a bin bag full of them. Like a clear plastic bin bag full of them. It was insane. And she was just sat there the whole journey. And she was like, do you want some? Oh, yeah, okay. Tasted like mud. Tastes like absolute mud. Deep fried crickets, not so bad. Just a bit sort of crunchy, not much taste to them. But the beetles were like, but I think it wasn't long after George Harrison had died that I tried eating that beetle. I know it always stayed with me afterwards. I think I had a little bit of a nightmare about the idea that maybe George came back, because God is a mischief maker. It's Maui or Loki. He was one of the two. Who's the real God? I would reincarnate him as an actual beetle just to mess with him, because he was all into that, wasn't he? Anyway, so thought badly about that afterwards, but only as bad as I feel about eating lamb. So moving swiftly on, Graham, if you cross your legs, Sharon Stones does it. It's a fancy indeed. Landmines and plastic pollution. Plastic pollution is insane. Starbuck just finished your book. Absolutely fantastic. Where can I watch your series? Well, you can watch my series in America on the Travel Channel. You can watch my series over in China, India, the UAE, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, 50 countries and territories around the world, comprising of well over half the world's population can watch it. If you get a time machine, you go back in time 10 years when it was on TV. If you can't do that, then the only places I think that's still showing it are the Travel Channel in the US, and also I've got a copy on my G Drive, which I could give you access to, but I'll probably be arrested for copyright theft or something ridiculous. So unfortunately, I can't do that. But maybe you could write to the BBC and say, hey, BBC people, remember that TV show that you paid for? Do you remember that? Yeah? Do you maybe want to show it in the UK? Because that'll be good. If you show it in the UK, 8-part series, that's a lot of airtime that you haven't shown in your own country when it's presented by someone from Britain. It's fine. People recognize me. People recognize me when I'm out in other countries. This country, forget about it. Anyway, I had one guy come up to me when I was in Australia, and he said to me, oh, you're that guy, aren't you? And I was there wearing my hat, having a wee because we were in the toilet. And I looked at him and went, yeah. And he goes, off the Pineapple Express. And I went, no, I'm not Seth Rogen. I'm from Liverpool. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So who designed the flag? I don't know. Someone. The flag changed a lot in the 20th century, actually. I think it went through like 6 or 7 different versions before it settled on this one. It's about the marinade. I ate cockroach once. Well cooked in pizza. I was well baked at the time. Oh, POX, you can get your change in 3 currencies at the same time. Reals, Thai baht, and US dollars. Take some skill to take your change. That's very true. Landmines and plastic populations. Wow, 30 landmines. What? No, it's more than that. It's just millions of them. Anyway, so the food. Back to the food. Look, I was just saying, it's amazing. Forget about the insects for a moment, but the rest of it. Big on rice, big on fish, which are 2 things I love. I love seafood curries. I hate the fact that we don't get enough seafood pizzas in this country. You go to like Domino's or Papa John's or one of those horrible places, and you say, I want a seafood pizza. And they're like, oh, we can give you a tuna pizza. Maybe we can put some prawns on it. And I'm like, no, I want a specific seafood pizza. You travel around Italy, everywhere that does pizza does a Mariana, does a seafood pizza. Why don't they do it? Plus, we probably need to be, helping out our shell fishermen and women, our shell fisher folk in this country at the moment, because I think they're a bit, bit in trouble, bit foobarred. A little bit of a Vietnam reference there. Foobarred through Brexit, which we're not going to mention because this is about something else. So big on fish, big on rice, kaffir lime, lemongrass. Now, I once had lemongrass soup, and I won't recommend it. It's okay as a garnish. Little bit of lemongrass. Lemongrass soup was fucking insane, all right? It was like trying to drink mouthwash, hot mouthwash. It was horrible. Don't do it. I was on the Mekong. Don't do it. But lemongrass, a little bit on the side. It's all right. Garlic, soy sauce, tamarind, or tamarind even. Ginger is big over there, so, yeah. That doesn't work, actually, because their word for ginger isn't the same as the colour for the hair. Oyster sauce, big over there. Fish sauce, obviously. And coconut milk. Oh, coconut milk in curry. In fact, I had a Southeast Asian curry for dinner tonight. I had a vegetable curry, and it did have coconut milk, and that's so good. And black pepper, big things to put in the food over there. It's really, really tasty. A lot of it's pretty hot. If you like your spice, it's a great place to go. Drink tea. Well, no, there's really, really ridiculously cheap beer. You can get beer for like 30 pence a can. It's ridiculously cheap. But the big drink over there is tea. And there's a tea called tea, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but it's like tea krolap. And tea krolap is, it's made by, or tea krolap. It's made by putting water and a mass of tea leaves into a small glass, placing a saucer on top, and turning the whole thing upside down to brew, which is really fun. And yeah, really nice. I'm a big tea drinker. I like it. It's good. If you go to a coastal town in the UK, you struggle to get seafood, unlike anywhere else in the world. That's very true, Chobai. That is very, very true. Full Fat Junior, Seth Rogen, that killed us. I always remember using your tip on the Glasgow video from donkeys years ago to get to the front of the crowd. I used it at Kasabian at Glasgow 2014. Yes! I did a video called Glastonbury Secrets or something, and one of them was how to get to the front of the crowd. And I'm glad that Full Fat Junior there took my sage advice, got to the front of Kasabian. I saw Kasabian at Glasgow 2014. That was pretty good. Terrible that BBC won't put your TV series on the UK. I smell conspiracy. Scouse lives matter, says Starbucks. And maybe they just think it's shit. I mean, you know, they might have just looked at it and gone, it might be good enough for the Americans and the Australians, but we've got more episodes of Mrs. Brown's Boys to put on. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Should we move to the map? We'll get the big mappy map up, and we can have a little bit of a scooch. Is that the word? We have a little bit of scooch at the topography of that would work for Thailand, wouldn't it? The cartography of Cambodia. There you go. Get some alliteration in there somehow. Right. So if I zoom in on Southeast Asia, you will notice that this always looks to me like a kind of alien. You know, like the head from Alien, and you expect like a little draw to come out here, a second draw, and just smash into I don't know, Borneo down here. Just smashing. So this is Sigourney Weaver's head, and this is the alien looking down at her. That's what I kind of see when I see this map. Anyway, so if we zoom in a bit more, weirdly enough, Cambodia looks like very much is split into two there. We've got here, which is West Cambodia, and over here we've got East Cambodia. This is the Mekong River. Dissecting the two. I don't know why Google seemed to. Oh, I see. This is why. I was like, why does it look like it's two different countries? But it's not. It's just that the Mekong's insane. And Phnom Penh, the capital, which amounts to Phnom Penh. I always think of pen and paper, is the confluence of four different rivers. And you just see how much water there is in this country. It's a very flat country. It's a very wet country. This lake up here is absolutely bloody massive. Lake, it's called Tonle Sap Lake, and which means Great Lake in the local lingo. In recent years, it was indicted into the list of UNESCO biosphere reserves and protected for its importance to animals and humans alike. And twice a year, does something really cool. The flow of water changes direction into the lake. And as a result, it either fills up like crazy, becoming like one of the biggest lakes in the whole of Asia, actually. Southeast Asia, anyway. And and at other times, it becomes it dries up. It becomes really big, or it dries up, depending on the mood of the weather gods, I guess. So water is a huge thing in Cambodia. It's really, really important to the culture. And if you go to any kind of fiestas, festivals, or anything in Cambodia, it'll probably involve getting wet in some way. That's Cambodia. And there's Phnom Penh, like I said. And this is the Mekong coming down here from between Thailand and this is Laos here. So it sort of forms the border down here. And then I think it comes into this little bit of Laos. And then it goes down into Cambodia. And as you can see, it's got its three neighbours here. We've got Thailand here, the capital Bangkok. We've got Vietnam, which is over here. Ho Chi Minh City is the new name for Saigon. So that was old Saigon. And that's not the capital, by the way. The capital's up here. It's Hanoi at the top of the screen there. And here's Laos, which is capital is Vientiane. And Laos and Vietnam and Cambodia at the sort of turn of the century was French Indochina. Turn of the 20th century was French Indochina, and Thailand always seemed to manage to survive as its own little thing out on the periphery there. So there you go. That's the map. That's where it is, Southeast Asia. Beautiful part of the world. Really tropical, really jungly. Great food. Lovely, lovely, lovely people. Oh, Rambo did a tourney around those parts 50 years ago. He did indeed. YouTube has just noticed me. It's Graham is streaming. So I'll have to... Oh, hang on. Not going to lie. I have a lot of trouble handling spicy foods so I can keep away from them. Well, you know, if you ask, usually you say no spice. They generally know not to put spice in, but yeah, it can get lost in translation sometimes. I pronounced Penampe wrong all my life. Well, Pineapple Boy, there's an argument to be had. Some people pronounce it one way, some people pronounce it another. I'm not going to say it's definitive. I say Penampe. I don't know if that's the right way. It might be pen and pen. Might be pen and phenom. I don't think it's an F. I think it's a P sound. Also, Khmer, as in Khmer Rouge. I'm going to say it wrong because it's actually pronounced Khmer or something. I don't know, but I say it wrong. I just say Khmer because that's how I've always said it. So I apologize to any Cambodians and you know, people who... Pedants, that's it. Any pedants watching, I apologise for my mispronunciation of the word Khmer. Right, anyway, so that was the map. Let's go on to let's delve a little bit into the history. So, 4,200 BC, you settled in. Cambodia, cave dwellers capable of making pots inhabited the caves around Lang Sbien. Archaeological evidence suggests these vessels the people making these vessels were similar to the people in the way that they look and the height and everything else to the people who live in Cambodia today. So they should be the direct ancestors. So I think, but you know, obviously it's when you get that far into the past, it's more of an art than a science, I guess. I heard a story years ago about there was a team of archaeologists who found the remnants of a tribe. I think it was either in Borneo or in the Amazon, and they found these small tools. They found these little hammers and little chisels and little bow and arrow and things, and they deduced that they had stumbled upon an ancient tribe of pygmies who lived there all together as pygmies, and they published a paper about this. It was peer reviewed, and the people who peered it looked at it and went, it might have been children's toys, you know. And they went, no! True story. Okay, so Cambodia came into being, so the legend says, went through the union of a princess and a Johnny foreigner from the land of India, in fact. The foreigner was a Brahmin named Dinya, and the princess was the daughter of a dragon king. Who ruled over a watery land, because it's all water dragons down there. You see, not fire dragons. Fire dragons are like Westeros and stuff, and you know, House Targaryen. Now these are water dragons. So one day, as Dinya sailed by, the princess paddled out in a boat to greet him, and which is nice. And then Kuninda basically shot an arrow from his magic bow into the boat, causing the fearful princess to agree to marriage. Oh, how romantic. In need of a dowry, the father drank up the waters of his land, because he was a dragon, I guess he could do that kind of thing, and presented them to Kundinya to rule over. And the new kingdom was called Cambodia. Cambodia's religious, royal, and written traditions stemmed from India as a result of people coming across, Indian traders and holy men coming across from India, bringing in language, religions, sculpture, and just bring a little bit of India to Southeast Asia. And that process began in earnest really in about 100 AD. So in 245 AD, the Chinese Wei Emperor sent a mission to the countries of the Mekong region. And at that time, there were lots of principalities, countries, competing tribes, whatever. It was not all one harmonious Cambodia by any stretch of the imagination. And basically, he accused the people there, this is in the writings, of being barbarous and ugly, which is like so childish. It's like, yes, we went to this place and they told us that we weren't welcome, so they're all ugly. I think we can take that with a pinch of salt. Anyone who's been to Southeast Asia knows that a lot of people in Southeast Asia are not ugly by any stretch of the imagination. So 600 AD, the first inscriptions are committed to stone in Cambodia, in ancient Khmer, offering historians, the language of Khmer, the first contemporary accounts of pre-Angkorian period, rather than from rather biased Chinese sources. Obvious reasons. GDH, what was that? Cash Dummy. I think you're trying to do a little thing. It didn't come up right on my restream thing, but I'm having a look. Oh wow, it's a little one of me. Thanks, Cash Dummy. That's really cool. It's a little, emoticon of me with my silly hat on. Rambo 2 was not as good as Rambo 1. Well, they were very different movies. I mean, Rambo, First Blood, as it was called. It wasn't called Rambo 1, it was called First Blood, based on a book, and called Coming Home, maybe. And completely different story. It's about a guy coming back from Vietnam and being rejected by the people of his hometown, as many people were coming back from Vietnam. And basically the mental stress and the PTSD that war causes. And in the original draft of First Blood, he was supposed to die at the end. I think they did it. I think they filmed it. I think they filmed him dying at the end. And the test audiences didn't like it. And they thought, there might be a sequel in this. So they decided that he didn't die in the end. Okay, so moving on. Where was I up to? I was in 600 AD. So let's go forward a couple of hundred years to 802 AD, when Jayavarman II proclaims independence from Java. That's the Indonesian island of Java, in which Jakarta is currently located. I mean, the place is sinking. The place is sinking. That's a subject for a whole different episode. He proclaims independence from Java in a ceremony to anoint himself a Devaraja, of a god king, on the holy mountain of Phnom Kulen, marking the birth of the Khmer Empire of Angkor. Now, we're going to talk about Angkor a lot, because this is the Angkor Wat behind me. Let's go in this way, aren't I? This is the Angkor Wat behind me, and this is, if you go to Thailand, if you go to Thailand, visit Cambodia. If you go to Cambodia, you need to visit Angkor Wat. It's phenomenal. And a good 3 days, I think, to explore it. It's pretty bloody big. It is insanely big. In 889 AD, Yasovarman the first moves the capital from the ancient city of Harihara and to the Angkor area. 16 kilometers to the northeast marks the location with 3 temple mountains, which became the precursor to the Angkor Wat. In 924 AD, a usurper called King Jayavarman, or Varman even, the fourth, transfers the capital from Kokar and begins the mammoth building spree. But the lack of water sees the capital move back to Angkor just 20 years later. He built somewhere, thought there'd be loads of water. There wasn't enough water. Had to move the capital back. In 1002 AD. So this is a good 60 years before the Battle of Hastings. 64 years before. Yavarman the first comes to power and expands the extent of the kingdom by annexing the Buddhist kingdoms of Luvo, known as Lopburi in modern-day Thailand, and increases trade links with the outside world. So what happens quite a lot in this area is certain places along the borders between Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam and Thailand move around a lot, and there's been land grabs, and then they've grabbed it back, and then they said this is part of our country, and then someone said this is part of our country. In fact, the town near Angkor Wat is called Siam Reap, which means Thailand defeated. That's the name, because they took that area back because it was Thai for a while, and the Cambodians took it back, and in celebration they named the place. This is the place where we beat the bloody Thais. Yes. In 1112 AD, Sir Ravaman II commences the construction, finally, of the Angkor Wat, as we know it now, the mother of all temples, dedicated to Vishnu and designed as his funeral temple, actually. And then 40 years later, So Yaverman the second is killed. He's on the throne for a good, 40 years. Good innings there. But he's killed in a disastrous campaign against the Vietnamese, the proto-Vietnamese, the Dai Viet, provoking this rising northern neighbour and sparking centuries of conflict between the two countries, which still simmer on along to this day. That flag looks painted by a 3-year-old. Well, I've made it so it's a bit jaunty. I drew that. I made it a bit jaunty. I just think a flag just on its own, just sitting there, is a bit boring. So I redid it. I've done that with all the flags. If you notice in the corner, they're all a bit jaunty, a little bit. Anyway, Cash Dummy says, I can't remember, got to rewatch it. Like Rambo 5, watched it with my father and brought us back to the good old days when he introduced me to Predator when I was 7. Great movie, Predator. Pineapple Boy, standing water in the jungle. Are there many mosquitoes and creepy crawlies in Angkor Wat? There's mosquitoes, yeah, but it's not too bad, honestly. It's not too bad. Yeah, loved Rambo 3, though. The movie is so problematic today, no one's going to want him to be any part of it. Is that the one where he joined the Mujahideen, like James Bond did in The Living Daylights? Great days. In 1177, the Chams launched a surprise attack. The Chams were a famous doo-wop band of that era. The Chams launched a surprise attack on Angkor by sailing up the Tole Sap, defeating the powerful Khmers, and occupied the capital for 4 years, and they were finally vanquished as Jayavarman the Fourth. The Seventh. Jayavarman the Seventh. There's loads of them. They're everywhere. The greatest king of Angkor and builder of Angkor Thom takes the throne, named after Thom Yorke of Radiohead. He takes the throne, changing the state religion to Maya Yanan Buddhism. So it was Hindu, and then it became Buddhist. That's going to cause trouble, isn't it? Isn't it? It's going to cause a bit of trouble, I think. So in 1219, getting 800 years ahead of myself there. In 1219, Jayavarman the seventh, died in his 90s. Good innings for the Middle Ages, bloody hell. And the Empire of Angkor slowly declines due to choking irrigation network, religious conflict, and the rise of powerful neighbours. That flag would win on Blue Peter. Thank you very much. Wonky flags are great, Graham. Keep doing them unless wonkyfying you makes you very late. No, I did them years ago. Because I was doing a series, and that was going to be the intro. It was going to be all of the flags of the world shown like just for a fraction of a second with like a picture of my head coming towards the screen. Kind of a bit of an intro. Hughes of the world. But I never made it. I might do in the future, and I'll use all the flags that I've got to do it, but there are over 200 flags that I've actually drawn myself. Lara Croft did a tourney around there 20 years ago. Yes, Angkor Wat was where they filmed scenes for Tomb Raider, the original Tomb Raider. Great movie. Having just watched recently Black Widow, I've got to say, yeah, it's all right. It's like we're not really trying that hard. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, we'll go here, we'll have a fight. We'll go there, we'll have a fight. We'll go there, we'll have a fight, and then we'll and it's very much, you're just sitting there going, I feel like I've seen this format somewhere before. And Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones, James Bond. It's like, go somewhere, have a fight. Quick, we need to go somewhere else. What do we need to do there? We need to have a fight. Don't know why I got onto that. There you go. UN Special Envoy says, hi, Graham. Hi, UN Special Envoy. How are you doing? We were streaming your stream on Discord and having a chat along with you. Streamception. Oh, Glasgow Kiss. Thank you very much. That's quite clever. I don't know how that works. Technology scares me. In fact, I have to touch all my like my computer and my camera and my microphone and everything. I have to wear gloves on my hands to... No, it's a lie. Anyway, in 1296, before then, 1253, getting ahead of myself again, the Mongols of Kublai Kai, who was the, Kublai Khan, who was the son or the grandson of Genghis Khan, they sacked the Thai kingdom of Nanchou in Yunnan, which is now in China, sparking an exodus southwards, which brought them into direct conflict with the weakening Khmer Empire. Khmer Empire. In 1296 AD, the Chinese emiracy, Chao Takun spends 1 year living at Angkor and published the memorials on the customs of Cambodia, the only contemporary account of life at the great Khmer capital. In 1353, Lao Prince Chao Phat Ngum ended his exile at Angkor and is sponsored by his Khmer father-in-law on an expedition to conquer the new Thai kingdoms, declaring himself leader of Lan Chang, the land of 1,000,000 elephants. And even to this day, the name of Lao comes from the name, the country of 1,000,000 elephants. 1431, the expansionist Thais sack Angkor, definitively carting off most of all court to Ayutthaya, including nobles, priests, and dancers and artisans and stuff. Cash Dummy says, Black Widow is mediocre. Agree, Graham, though David Harbour I just love, even his performance was cheesy. David Harbour was great. David Harbour was the best thing in that movie, but everything else, it was just a bit okay. And look, I don't want to spoil the film for anyone who's not seen it, so cover your ears, but the idea that you could hide in a cloud, think about it for a moment. Yeah, no radar could possibly get this high. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look out on a clear night, you can see the International Space Station. How can they guarantee there's clouds? I mean, just let's not overthink this. Okay, moving back on to Cambodia, because it's already it's already 11 o'clock. And I'm only in the 1400s. 1431, the expansionist Thais sack Angkor, and then in 1594, the contemporary Cambodian capital of Lovek falls when, according to legend, the Siamese fire a cannon of silver coins into the capital's bamboo defences. The soldiers cut down the protective bamboo to retrieve the silver, leaving the city exposed. Which, if that is true, that is a cunning trick. That's cunning. I like that. Here you go. Here's some money. Oh shit! Cut down the defences, and then we can get to the money. 1618, the Cambodian capital moves to Udong for prolonged periods, a pair of strategic hills located about 40 kilometres west of Phnom Penh. And then we have 1772. Cambodia is caught between the powerful Vietnamese and Siamese. So either side. One side's Vietnam, the other side's Thailand, and stuck in the middle with you, as I've forgotten that band once sang. Steelers Wheel, thank you. Steelers Wheel once sang. Graham, haha! I thought you downloaded the flag from Google. I apologise. You enjoy it. It's good. It's crap. No, I made them so they look a bit, and some of them I put jokes in. I changed what the mottos were into like things like Andorra's a bit crap or something like that. Instead of what the actual motto was in the Latin one. Anyway, let's not overthink it. Yes, let's not overthink it. Anyway, so let's move it forward. 1834, the Vietnamese take control of much of Cambodia during the reign of Emperor Min Mang, begin a slow revolution to teach the barbarians their customs. So the Vietnamese thought that the Cambodians were barbarians as well, which is a bit harsh. In 1864, the French forced King Norodom the First into signing a treaty to make Cambodia a French protectorate. They forced him to basically sign this, but it prevented Cambodia from being wiped off the map. But it also began 90 years of French rule. Yay! Which was so good for countries like Algeria. Anyway, so in 1885, a rebellion against French rule in Cambodia broke out, and in response to a new treaty giving French administrators wide-reaching powers, like too wide. Like, chill out, man. You don't need to give powers this crazy, okay? The treaty is signed under the watch of French gunboats from the Mekong River. Nice. In 1907, rebellion again. French authorities successfully renegotiate the return of the northwest provinces of Siem Reap. Thailand, beaten. Battenberg and Preah Vihear, which had been under Thai control since 1794. So from 1794 to 1907, Siem Reap, where Angkor Wat is, which is on the freaking flag, wasn't in Cambodia. It was in Thailand, or Siam, as it was known back then. In 1942, war had been declared in the West for 3 years by then, and Japanese forces occupied Cambodia, leaving the administration in the hands of the Vichy French officials. Because don't forget, the Vichy French were in with the Nazis, weren't they? So they were kind of like allies, because the Japanese and the Nazis had a deal, and so they left pretty much in the in the hands of those people. But they fan the flames of independence as the war draws to a close. The provinces of Battenberg, Siem Reap, and Sisophon, seized by the Thais during the Japanese occupation, are again returned to Cambodia. So they were in Thailand for a few years during the war, and then in 1947 they returned again to Cambodia. I guess they could put it back on the flag then. And in 1953, King Sihanouk, whose name you're going to get very familiar with, because he only died in 2012, and he pretty much dominated Cambodian politics from that point, from 1953 onwards. So the king's royal crusade for independence succeeds, and Cambodia goes it alone without the French on the 9th of November 1953, ushering in a new era of optimism, which is quickly snuffed out as events transpired. By the way, we're an hour in now, and I was a bit late getting started. But if you would like to give a super chat to spur me on in these little history lessons, that would be great. Because I otherwise I don't get paid really for doing this, unless you're a patron. If you're a patron, don't worry about it. But if you're not, consider giving us a super chat. Although if you are a patron and you're just feeling generous, you always can give a super chat if you like. Otherwise, I am just going to have to become a history teacher and just draw a salary, which is going to be a lot less exciting and a lot less sweary, because I don't think you'll have to swear at children, unfortunately. Anyway, so in 1955, King Sihanouk, he abdicated. He abdicated the throne. So just 2 years into the independence of Cambodia, he abdicated the throne to enter a career of politics. And he founds the People's Socialist Community Party and wins the election with ease. They have an election. In 1962, the International Court rules in favour of Cambodia in the long-running dispute over the dramatic mountain temple of Preah Vihear, perched on the Drangkek Mountains. So that goes back to Cambodia. It's given us part of their territory again. In 1963, Pol Pot, whose name, again, you're going to hear this name a lot, and Leng Seri flee from Phnom Penh to the jungles of Ratanakiki. Ratanakiri. Let's try that again. Pol Pot and Leng Seri flee from Phnom Penh to the jungles of Ratanakiri to launch a guerrilla war against Sihanouk's government, and they have training with the Vietnamese in order to do this. In 1964, a year later, following the US-sponsored coup against President Diem in South Vietnam in 1963, Sihanouk veers to the left, breaking diplomatic ties with the USA and nationalizing the rice trade, which antagonizes the ethnic Chinese business community. Not making friends there. Not making friends. Oh, Yurosh, thank you very much. I think you should teach philosophy from Yurosh. €5 super chat. Philosophy, I don't think I'd be any good at philosophy. I don't know. Would I? I like facts. Philosophy's like thinking about things, isn't it? I don't know. I've got a good friend, Glenn Scallon, and he's a brilliant philosophy teacher, and he does videos on philosophy for YouTube, which are well worth checking out, which I might give you the link to at one of these things one day. I suppose I could do it on Discord afterwards if you're interested. In 1969, the glorious US President Richard Nixon, friend to everyone who loves liberty and truth and not being a criminal, he started the secret bombing of Cambodia, which they started carpet bombing. Border zones of carpet bombing is when you bomb so much you're basically carpeting the ground with bombs. But eventually it spread from the border zones to the entire country, continuing until 1973, when Congress found out about it and put a stop to it as a result of the Washington Post, I think. There's a movie about it with maybe Meryl Streep and Bob Odenkirk and Tom Hanks is in it? Yeah, I think so. But called The Post. Well worth watching. Anyway, it was discovered that they'd been secretly carpet bombing the shit out of Cambodia for 4 years, and they killed 250,000 Cambodians. I'm not bothered to tell anyone. No, why would you bother telling anyone, eh? Just bomb them. Because of what the government's doing. That seems fair. Oh, Glasgow Kiss. £2. Pol Pot was a great singer. Yes. Thank you, Glasgow Kiss, for the £2 super chat. I greatly appreciate it. 1970, Sihanouk, the former king who left being a king to go into politics, throws in his lot with the Khmer Rouge. Why, what? After being overthrown off the throne. No, he wasn't the king anymore, but he was the leader of the country. He was overthrown by the military commander Lon Nol. His name is actually a palindrome. It's Lon Nol, and his cousin Sirik Matic, basically the former king. Sihanouk was sentenced to death in absentia, marking the start of a 5-year civil war. On the 30th of April 1970, US and South Vietnamese forces, so the Vietnam War was raging, the North Vietnamese communists, South Vietnamese fighting against the communists with the backing of the USA. They invaded Cambodia in an effort to flush out thousands of Viet Cong and North Vietnamese troops who were using Cambodian bases in their war to overthrow the South Vietnamese government. Cambodia's tiny army didn't stand a chance. Within the space of just a few months, Vietnamese forces and the Khmer Rouge allies had overrun almost half the country. In 1971, Lon Nol. Why is that so difficult to say? I don't know. Lon, like Lon Chaney, Nol. Lon, I can't say it. Bloody hell. Okay, Mr. Nol, leader of the Khmer Republic, launched the Chenla offensive, against Vietnamese communists and the Khmer Rouge allies in Cambodia, but it turned out to be a disaster. He also suffers a stroke, but struggles on as leader until 1975. So the Khmer Republic is different from the Khmer Rouge. Okay, the Khmer Republic were the people running the country, and the Khmer Rouge were the rebels fighting against them. The communist rebels, actually. The Maoist rebels. So Sihanouk and his wife, Monique, travelled down the Ho Chi Minh Trail through Vietnam to visit his Khmer Rouge allies, because now he's allied with the Khmer Rouge, at the holy mountain of Phnom Kulen near Angkor. A propaganda victory, marks a propaganda victory for Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge forces. Now, a little bit about Pol Pot. He was born Saloth. That's a good name for an evil person. It's Saloth. Saloth Sar. Slytherin. Just Saloth Sar. In a small village near Kampong Thom in 1925. As a young man, he won a scholarship in Paris, and that's where he was influenced by communist writings, and he developed a little bit of radical Marxist thought, which is a bit like radical centralism or extreme centralism. No, it's not like that at all. It's a bit more nuts. It's a lot more nuts. It's about not, trying to help everybody. It's about killing anyone who disagrees with you, pretty much, I think. And then he became an extreme Maoist. And so he went on from being a Marxist to a Maoist over the course of a few decades. In 1963, Sihanouk's repressive policies sent Saloth Sar and his comrades fleeing to the jungles of Ratanakiri. It was at this moment that he began to call himself Pol Pot. Once the Khmer Rouge was allied with the former king, Sihanouk, following his overthrow by Mr. Nol in 1970 and subsequent exile in Beijing in China. Its support soared and the faces of the leadership became familiar. However, Pol Pot remained a shadowy figure. A little bit to say about what happened. So basically, the former king, who everyone liked, was deposed and sentenced to death in absentia. He then teamed up with these rabble-rousing guerrilla-type people who no one really knew and weren't really big on the scene. And because the former king, was now allied with the Khmer Rouge, lots and lots of people joined the Khmer Rouge. Many of the Vietnamese trained Cambodian communists who had been based in Hanoi since the 1954 Geneva Accords had returned down the Ho Chi Minh Trail to join their allies in the Khmer Rouge in 1973. Many were dead, by the way, by 1975. The Khmer Rouge were dead, executed on orders of the anti-Vietnamese Pol Pot faction. So these are the people who went to Vietnam and trained with the Vietnamese and then came into Cambodia to support Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. And by the time the Khmer Rouge took over, Pol Pot had basically executed nearly all of them. So that sets the scene of what's going to happen next, which I'm sure you know a little bit about or a lot about, I don't know. But yes, the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot were some of the worst fucking lunatic, psychopathic, killing machines ever known to man. They were fucking nuts. They were second probably only to the Nazis in the way they systematically slaughtered vast swathes of the population, of their own population. Cash Dummy, great lesson in history and geography. I have no clue about Cambodian history. Now I have some. Oh, thank you very much, Cash Dummy. That's €5 super chat. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Likewise, when we're talking about this, many moderate Sihanouk supporters would join the Khmer Rouge as a show of solidarity for their fallen leader. They rather than any kind of ideology or anything like that, they were victims to the same sort of purges before the regime took power. So before the regime took power, they got rid of all the moderates. They got rid of anyone they thought was undesirable in the party or in the army. I mean, it was basically a military operation at that time. And when they actually got into power, all that were left were the lunatics. All that were left were the absolute braying, massive, psychopathic lunatics. I'm seeing parallels with the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom at the moment. And I know that sounds a bit extreme, but I'm seeing parallels with the Conservative Party of the UK at the moment. Okay, there's other parallels as well, which I'll come to in a moment. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge marched into Phnom Penh, the capital, and on the 17th of April, and they turned the clocks back. They turned the clocks back to what they called Year Zero. They evacuated the capital and turned the whole nation into a prison without walls. Few people could have anticipated the hell that was to follow, which is interesting. People say this because a lot of people don't learn from history. And if you say, well, how could anyone have predicted this? How could anyone predict a bunch of nutters coming in and killing like everybody? Had they not been paying attention to Mao's Cultural Revolution? Had they not been paying attention to Stalin's purges or the frickin' Nazis or what bloody Mussolini got up to, or Franco in the Spanish Civil War? I mean, come on. This is what happens when lunatics get into power. This is what happens when dickheads fawn over lunatics in power and go, oh my God, you're amazing because you're powerful and I like a strong man. It's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. It is the antithesis of feminism and the antithesis of masculinity as well, which is funny. You get the whole feminism and you get the whole of masculinity and you put it in a box and you pretend it doesn't exist and you fall behind your leader because he's a strong leader and you like a strong leader. Yeah. Anyway, millions of people fucking died. Okay, that's the short of it. I'll go into it in a little bit. Pol Pot and his clique were the architects of one of the most brutal and radical revolutions in the history of mankind, actually. 1975, year zero, Cambodia was on a self-destructive course to sever all ties with the past. Within a few days of coming into power, the entire population of Phnom Penh and provincial towns, including the sick, elderly and infirm, were forced to march into the countryside and work as slaves for 12 to 15 hours a day. Disobedience of any sort almost always brought immediate execution with a bullet to the head. Sometimes they would save on bullets by telling people to put their heads together so they could save on bullets. This actually fucking happened. If you go to Cambodia now, you can see the skulls with all the bullet holes in them. You can see the skulls. They have them all stacked up. So you can see what happens when a bunch of fucking lunatics take charge of a fucking country. Currency was abolished, great, and the postal service were halted. The country cut itself off from the outside world. All of the senior government and military figures who have been associated with Mr. Null were executed within a few days of the takeover. Then the centre shifted its attention to the outer regions, which have been separated into different geographical zones. The loyalist southwestern zone forces under the control of one-legged general, Tat Mok, were sent into region after region to purify the population, and thousands upon thousands of people perished. Now, when they say purify, they wanted to get rid of anyone who was intelligent. I wouldn't have stood a fucking chance. I would have been killed on day one of the Khmer Rouge. I would be killed on day one of the Nazis getting into power in the 30s, because I'm an outspoken gobby scouser who stands up for other people who, I'm not Jewish, I'm not trans, I'll stand up for their rights because it's the right thing to do. I'm not a Romany, I'm not a gypsy. I'll stand up for their rights because it's the right thing to do. But people like me were generally the first to go in these situations. It got so mad that they just started executing anyone who'd been to university. They started executing anyone who was a school teacher. Then they started executing anyone who could fucking read. Then they started executing anyone who's wearing fucking glasses. So I'd have been fucking triply fucking dead in Cambodia. And what does this remind you of? I mean, this is what this reminds me of. When I see fucking headlines in the Daily Mail with our Remainer universities and a big double spread about how evil our universities are because they're teaching people that the EU is a good thing. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the fucking Khmer fucking Rouge. And this is why I get so antsy about it. Because I see what's happened in the past and I go, it's too many parallels. We're sick of experts, right? The Khmer Rouge were sick of experts. And between 1 and 3 million people were brutally slaughtered as a result. Men, women, and children, and babies. They didn't just kill a person, they would kill their whole fucking family. Which is something they still continue to do in North Korea, If you commit a crime in North Korea, they don't just put you to death, they put your children to death as well, because they want to stop the line of the criminality in your genes. Yeah, eugenics. Nice. Right, anyway, so, yeah. Fucking Pol Pot. Khmer Rouge. 1977, the Pol Pot faction of the Khmer Rouge launched their bloodiest purge against the eastern zone of the country, sparking civil war along the banks of the Mekong and drawing the Vietnamese into the battle. When the Vietnamese invaded Cambodia on the 25th of December, Christmas present, I guess, for the Cambodians, 1978, Pol Pot and his supporters fled into the jungle near the Thai border, where they spent the next decade launching attacks on government positions in Cambodia. If you want to know more about this, there's a great book by a guy called David Chandler called Brother Number One. There's also The History of a Nightmare by Philip Short as well. And also there's the book and the film, The Killing Field, which I really, really recommend, which was Dith Pran, was a Cambodian journalist who managed to get out by the skin of his teeth from Cambodia. Really, really worth watching that movie. And after you've seen it, if you ever hear the song Imagine by John Lennon, it'll always bring a lump in your throat if you remember the movie. But it was, yeah, it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. 1979, yeah. So just 2 weeks after the Vietnamese crossed the border, they liberated Cambodia from the Khmer Rouge on the 7th of January, 1979. And they installed a friendly regime to Vietnam in Phnom Penh. Graham, calm down about education. Calm down. Graham reminds me of that line of African Queen. I think I will hang you twice. Yes, indeed. I would soon be dead in most dictators. Part Jewish, glasses wearing cripple, socialist, Slav. Yuri Kaluda, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Like, there are so many people who will be happy to see the undesirables murdered. They would happily see that. A lot of people who vote Conservative in this country have that attitude in their head. They honestly believe that people deserve to die because they're liberals, because they care about other people, because they want to do right for the poor women, children and men fleeing war, because they want to rescue drowning children. How dare you? How dare you? And they want that they would be. I mean, they wouldn't be the one to pull the trigger because they're cowards, obviously. But they would. They saw you getting into trouble across the street. They'd just keep walking. They're that kind of person. They're that kind of person. It's still not known exactly how many Cambodians died at the hands of the Khmer Rouge in the 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days of their reign of terror. The Vietnamese claim 3 million deaths. Foreign experts claimed 1 million. Yale University claimed 2 million. So the real number's somewhere probably around 2 million. But what we do know is hundreds of thousands of people were executed under the Khmer Rouge leadership, while hundreds of thousands more died of famine and disease. Meals consisted of little more than watery rice porridge twice a day, meant to sustain men, women and children working back-breaking days in the fields, in the killing fields. Disease stalked the work camps, malaria and dysentery striking down whole families. Death was a relief for some for the horrors of life. People were tortured. One of the places I visited when I was in Cambodia back in 2002 was a school, which was turned into a torture camp. So it was a place where, children had learned to read and write and formulated some of the happiest memories of their lives. And then the Khmer Rouge come along and they change the classrooms into cells, and they beat the living crap out of people until they got the information that they needed or whatever. Obviously torture doesn't work, so they probably just acted on misinformation a lot of the time, and then they murdered people. Just shot them in the back of the head. In 1980, a year after the toppling of the Khmer Rouge, Cambodia was gripped by a terrible famine, as the dislocation of previous years meant that no rice had been planted or harvested. And worldwide, Save Kampuchea, as it was known then, it was known for a few years as Kampuchea, appeals were launched. In fact, let's go through the whole gamut of names of the country. So since gaining independence in 1953, Cambodia has been known as the Kingdom of Cambodia, then the Khmer Republic under Mr. Knoll, who ruled from 1970 to 1975. Then it was changed to the Democratic Kampuchea under the Khmer Rouge from 75 to 79. From 8 till 89, it was known as the People's Republic of Kampuchea under the Vietnamese-backed government. Then it became the State of Cambodia from 1989 to 1993, when it became the Kingdom of Cambodia. Again, the name that it had in 1953 when it became independent. Graham, is Cambodia gay-friendly? Yeah. You find, I think pretty much all of the Southeast Asian countries are gay-friendly. Yeah, there's not been much of a problem down that way. Very trans friendly as well, obviously, because a lot of people there are trans, a lot more trans friendly than other places. Malaysia, they do still have some problems with the more religious lunatics in government and in society, I guess, but it's a predominantly Muslim country. But the countries that are Hindu, Buddhists, they tend to not be so hung up on the whole, love that dare not speak its name, which is just, it's so sad when you look at the fact that it's 2021 and are we still obsessing over what other people are doing in their love life and who other people are falling in love with. Don't fall in love with them. Why not? Because it's wrong. It's wrong to love someone and have them love you back. If that's wrong, then I don't want to be right. Anyway, so we were talking about the names of Cambodia has changed a lot. In the 80s, obviously, Sihanouk had sort of come back with the Khmer Rouge, but he had been a bit aloof, I think, from the actual killings and things that had gone on. And he was pressured to join forces with the Khmer Rouge as head of the coalition government of Democratic Kampuchea, or the CGDK, a new military front against the Vietnamese-backed government in Phnom Penh. In 1984, the Vietnamese embarked on a major offensive in the west of Cambodia, and the Khmer Rouge and its allies are forced to retreat to refugee camps and bases around inside Thailand, which is where Pol Pot ended up, actually. In 1985, a year later, there was a changing of the guard at the top, and Hun Sen becomes Prime Minister. Hun Sen, a title that he still holds today. 1985, Thatcher and Reagan were in charge, the UK and the US respectively. Both of them are long since brown bread. Hun Sen is still the leader to this day he's still the Prime Minister of Cambodia. He still holds the title as the leader of the Cambodian People's Party, making him one of the longest serving leaders in the world right now, actually. In 1989, as the effects of President Gorbachev's perestroika, or restructuring, begin to impact on communist allies, Vietnam feels the pinch and announces a withdrawal of its forces from Cambodia to leave Cambodia to its own affairs. In 1991, the Paris Peace Accords are signed, in which all parties, including the Khmer Rouge, agreed to participate in free and fair elections supervised by the UN. In 1993, a couple of years later, the pro-Say-Anuk Royalist Party, which is called Funkenpec, Funkenpec. It's actually an acronym for the United. Well, it's the French acronym for the National United Front for an Independent, Neutral, Peaceful, and Cooperative Cambodia. Yeah, Funkenpec, bring it. Anyway, so they under the leadership of Prince Rana Rid, they won the popular vote, but the CPP threatened secession into the east to muscle their way into government. So after negotiations with Funkenpec, which is all capitals, by the way, Norodom, Ranade, and Hun Sen, the Prime Minister, simultaneously agree to simultaneously serve as first and second Prime Ministers. So they're both Prime Ministers at the same time for some reason. In 1994, the Khmer Rouge targeted foreign tourists in Cambodia, killing and kidnapping groups travelling by taxi and train to the south coast, reinforcing Cambodia's image at the time as a dangerous country. It isn't anymore, not in the same way. 1995, Prince Norodom Sirirut is arrested and exiled for allegedly plotting to kill the Prime Minister, Hun Sen, who's still the Prime Minister today, removing another potential rival from the scene. And 2 years later, in 1997, the second Prime Minister, Hun Sen, overthrows the first Prime Minister, Norodom Ranariddh, in a military coup. And that's referred to as the events of 1997 in Cambodia. Cambodia has just dissolved all the other parties a few days ago, says Nicholas Gray. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? BMW Nasha says, I am an ex-US Marine Vietnam vet. Not good commies, not... no. they were pretty crazy. But then you could argue that if America hadn't interfered in the elections in the 1960s, then maybe the Khmer Rouge would never have got into power. When you dance with the devil doesn't change, the devil changes you. Or something like that. Since 1998, Hun Sen has led the CPP to consecutive and often contentious election victories, overseeing rapid economic growth and development, but also corruption, deforestation, and human rights violations. Nice guy. He's currently serving his 6th term as Prime Minister, and a de facto one-party rule, as Nicholas Gray alluded to in the comment there, having just dissolved all other parties just a few days ago. In 1998, Pol Pot died, on the 15th of April, and after Anung Veng falls to government forces. So Anung Veng was a town right on the border, up in the north west of the country, over by Thailand, and it fell to government forces. And at the same time, a lot of people said, oh, that's a bit quinky-dinky, isn't it? But there were lots of rumours about Pol Pot being dead for a long time before he was actually pronounced dead. And a lot of people didn't believe that he was dead when it actually happened. I actually remember it, actually. In 1999, Cambodia finally joins ASEAN, the Southeast Asian economic area, after a 2-year delay, taking its place among the family of Southeast Asian nations, welcoming the country back onto the world stage. In 2002, Cambodia held its first ever local elections, a tentative step into dismantling the old communist systems and bringing grassroots democracy to the country. Uli Kaluda, I thought the United Communist Vietnam ousted the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. Yeah. I probably didn't explain that very well. No, but by 1978, Christmas 1978, the Americans had left Vietnam in 1970. Well, they declared the end of the war in 1973. They finally left in 1975. There was a famous footage of the people trying to climb onto the last chopper out of Saigon. And yes, it was the Communist Party of Vietnam under Ho Chi Minh who took over and said, right, we're going to invade Cambodia. You're being far too silly. And they basically ran the country with a puppet regime from 1979 till 1989, when they finally decided to leave Cambodia to its own devices, but left the same prime minister in charge, basically. Sounds like a Formula One would organise a GP in. Well, there's the people are lovely. I keep saying this about countries. Lovely people, terrible government. So anyway, there's been more tomfoolery at the national level. In 2003, there was another election. The CPP won the election, but political infighting prevented the formation of a new government for almost a year. And then, basically, Funkin Peck came back. It was revived with the old king, Sihanouk, back in power. But then in 2004, sorry, he was king again. From 1993, he was made king again. They said, oh, let's have a king. So he became king, and for a little bit, and then in 2004 he announced his abdication from the throne, and he was succeeded by his son, who is called King Sai Hamani, and he's been a popular choice as he has steered clear of politics over the last 16, 17 years. In 2012, ex-king twice over, Sihanouk died, and between 1941 and 2006, Sihanouk, king on and off Sihanouk, produced and directed over 50 films, some of which he acted in. The films, later described as being of low quality, often featured nationalistic elements, as did a number of the songs he wrote. Yes, he wrote songs. Some of the songs were about his wife, Queen Monique, the nation's neighbouring Cambodia, and the communist leaders who supported him in his exile. In the 1980s, Sihanouk held concerts for diplomats in New York City. He also participated in concerts at his palace during his second reign. That's just bonkers. I kind of like it because it's so crazy, but, I just read that off Wikipedia. Don't sue me, Wikipedia. Graham, you're doing very well with some of the names. One slip and something unfortunate could happen. Well, yes, indeed. Pineapple Boy, for good reason, Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires. No one's ever won a war in Afghanistan. No one's ever won a war in Afghanistan. When comes Peru? It's coming. Under the P's. Under the P's. We're just starting the C's. We'll get onto the P's soon. Anyway, so today, let's just to bring us up to scratch. The US State Department report recently said that forces under Hun Sen, who's been Prime Minister since 1985, and the Cambodian People's Party, the CPP, have committed frequent and large-scale abuses, including extrajudicial killings and torture with impunity. According to the 2016 Global Slavery Index, an estimated 258,800 people are enslaved in modern-day Cambodia today, or 1.65% of the population. Cambodia has a bad but improving performance in the Global Environmental Performance Index, the EPI, with an overall ranking of 146 out of 180 countries in 2016. It's amongst the worst in the Southeast Asian region, ahead only of Laos and Myanmar. COVID has had a massive impact on tourism, but also there have been rather uncomfortable reports in recent months about squalid quarantine camps that have been set up for people with COVID. And big thing in Cambodia, which I can't go on to anything else without mentioning, is they have a huge problem with people trafficking. Just 4 days ago, it was reported that a police crackdown on 198 cases of human trafficking and sexual exploitation in the first 6 months of this year had led to the rescue of 721 victims and an increase of 135 cases compared with the same period last year. Pretty horrific. A lot of charities that work in Cambodia do a lot of work to end the exploitation, the sexual exploitation of women, men, and children in Cambodia. And it's one of those toxic things of tourism. Obviously, Cambodians want tourism. They want people from wealthy countries to come to their country. They're a developing nation. They need the money. But at the same time, we shouldn't be allowing people who are on the fucking sex offenders register in our country to travel somewhere like Cambodia. It just shouldn't be allowed because they're not going there for the beaches, are they? Come on, let's be sensible. Will Cameroon be a happier episode? Yes, actually. It will be. Cameroon's quite fun. I agree the food is amazing, especially the fish and mug. Yeah. Nicholas Gray, Noam Chomsky blames the CIA for everything. Maybe he's right. Remember the Guatemala coup in 1954? Yeah, but there's some countries that have managed to fuck things up just off their own back without anyone else's help. I don't think the CIA were too involved in Rwanda, for instance. Give to Friends International if people want to help. Yeah, Friends International is a really good charity helping people in Cambodia who are locked in this seemingly endless cycle of human trafficking and sexual exploitation that goes on in the country. Puex, I find it funny that many people park their car in the living room to keep them safe, so they sit around the edges of the room with the car in the middle. Gary Glitter, says Uli Kaluda. Yeah, he was allowed to go to Southeast Asia after spending time in a British prison for having child pornography on his computer. He shouldn't have been allowed. Why are we allowing our sex offenders to go to other countries to commit more sex offences? I think he actually went to Vietnam. I don't know if he went to Cambodia, but yeah. Okay, so that was fun. Now I'm going to check if I've got in my pockets my headphones. I don't. Shit. Just bear with me a moment. So what I'm going to show you now is some of my footage. This is some of my footage from when I was in Cambodia in 2002. I hope it's fun. I hope it's interesting. If it's not, you can always take back your super chats if you like. Unfortunately, I won't be able to have the sound on because I don't know what I'm going to say, and I'm guessing if I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can do this. I'm sure we can muddle something through here. But yeah, I'm hoping there's not going to be an echo on this because I don't have my headphones with me. Do I have my headphones? Do you know what? Just give me 1 moment. I'm just going to see if I can get my headphones so we can do this. 1 moment. See that. I'm just looking for my headphones. Oh, damn it. Oh, bollocks. Sorry, people. My headphones are in my coat, which is upstairs. So I'll tell you what. Let's get going on the footage, and you can decide. You can decide whether you want to keep watching it or not. But basically, there we go. I will just pause that there, and then fade it over. There we go.
6 o'clock in the morning, far too early. As I was saying, 6 o'clock in the morning, back in the Angkor Wat.
I'm at Angkor Wat. I'm at Angkor Wat.
Sunrise.
It's exciting stuff.
Actually, no, I'm going to sleep on the grass because I'm far too tired.
So I'm just making myself appear in the corner of the screen. Just one moment, please. Just bear with me. There we go. Hey, hello. What's that? Oh, it's a box. Let me get it. That's what happens when I go away for a few days. My whole setup dies. Look at these books at me like. Right. Hello. Wait. This is Angkor Wat. What? So this is my footage from many moons ago. Many moons ago. But yeah. Trundle along a little bit here, I think. I don't know if you want to watch like an hour's worth of buildings, but this is Angkor Wat. There's my shadow there. This is actually pre-hat. This is before I got the hat. This is how long ago it was. 19 years. Okay. And this is the view from an elephant. I rode on an elephant, and I don't know if I should have done this now. It was like 20 years ago. If I'm feeling like it's wet. But yes, rode on an elephant. Great bit of wobbly camera work there. There's an elephant being ridden, not by me. And this is fun. This is an elephant eating a tree.
Yeah.
There's some monkeys in the branches there, saying hello. I'm just skipping through the footage here. But yeah, Angkor Wat, magnificent, insane. Elephant.
Show here.
Me, bad goatee. What can I say? I thought it was good at the time, but it was a good idea. Faces in the rocks, which is kind of cool. Kind of a little bit reminiscent as well of the Mayans. The Mayans did stuff like that with the big sort of square faces and things. There's some light. There's me smiling. There's some people climbing on some stuff.
Khmer Rouge built
talking. Enough talking. There's one of these. What are they called? Bayamar trees or something? What are they called? They've got like big hollow roots. Kind of cool. I think there's a bit of footage from the Tomb Raider.
Some more now.
This was after the Tomb Raider film came out, so I probably did try and find the Tomb Raider place. But this is just me mooching around. This is me mooching about in Phnom Penh. In Angkor Wat. Nice footage. My point about Chomsky was that the UN still recognised Pol Pot as Cambodia's leader.
This place is unreal. Looks like a movie set.
Not got international aid. That's crazy. So yeah, a lot of the Angkor Wat. The Angkor Wat's massive. It's the size of a city. It's huge. It takes days to explore the whole thing, and there's wonderful parts that have just been sort of taken back over by the jungle. But it's just incredible. I mean, just so much exquisite stonework, masonry. And the amount of time and effort put into doing the reliefs that's just someone with a chisel. It's not been done on a 3D printer, has it? It's just phenomenal. And you get these dickheads who go, because a white person didn't do it, must have been aliens. Phenomenal place. Absolutely incredible. Really recommend it.
I'm just climbing up now.
I know Cambodia has its problems, but I do recommend it as somewhere to go and visit because the food's pretty good.
What? Can you see this stuff there?
Hello.
Look, it's you. Oh no, I don't want a postcard. No, I've got plenty of postcards.
I think they want to sell me a postcard or something. A lot of people like to do the hustle when you're in Cambodia. A lot of people trying to sell you something. For like a former communist state, it's quite into its capitalism in a big way. As all the kids were at school learning things, and instead of trying to sell me postcards at a religious site. There you go. I think I saw some monks when I was there as well. I'm trying to cycle through the footage so you can find me monks. Ooh, is that the tree? Sorry. Great footage of the floor there, Graham. Great. Oh, I think that's it. I think that's it. That's the tree that's in the I think that might. What's going on there? Maybe I was drunk. Oh, look, an insect. That's a weird insect. I think that's the other side of it. I think I'd go inside and like round, and then you can actually see the temple. But some of it's in ruins. There you go. Is that it? Is that the Tomb Raider one? There you go. It's got these trees and actually growing over the masonry. This is just really cool. See your lens, Graham. There you go. I think that's it there. There's a specific part of it. Yeah, that's it. That's Tomb Raider. That was using Tomb Raider. Because it looks boss. Because it looks like a proper tomb that's been taken over by a tree.
This is pretty amazing.
It's just amazing. I love the fact that you've got this beautiful tree trunk, all sinuous and like growing into this old building, and just this fusion of organic and non-organic beauty. Incredible. Oh, so young, fresh-faced, as before the dark times, before the Brexit, which aged me so much. You see the elephant in the wall there, and so there's actually carvings in all the wall. This is really cool. Some more carvings there. So they're all Hindu, aren't they? So, don't worry, I've got another beer. My hand disappears. That's a bit scary. So let's have a look. Where are we here? This is just
about 30 miles today.
I've walked 30 miles. This is the lake.
Sorry, I've been neglecting you. Yes.
And this was me making my way down and back. Oh shit! So this is the killing fields. This is the skulls of some of the people that were massacred in between 1975 and 1978, December 1978, by the Khmer Rouge. And this stack just goes up and up, and each one's just full of skulls. It's horrific. It's really just quite, yeah. It's fucking horrible. Yeah, the killing fields and this whole area, they were all graves that were dug. People were forced to dig a hole and then they were shot and pulled into the hole. These are all mass graves. And they found the skulls of thousands of people in this one area. You see just how the landscape has just been shaped by the massacre. Mass graves of more than 100 victims, children and women, majority were naked. And that's just one of them. And there are more than, lots. Mass graves. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, it was brutal. It was an absolutely brutal time in Cambodia. And a warning to what darkness lies in the hearts of some people who, when they're told the law does not apply to them and they can get away with anything, they set up extermination camps and kill women and children with impunity.
The Happy Club shooting range.
So I'm moving swiftly on. So one I shoot into the other. This is
$100 for
normally I'm quite anti-gun because I don't think people have their own gun.
I think I'll probably go for the AK-47. Or it's a cool colour.
But I thought, let's have a go.
Yeah, if you would. Listen, it keeps messing up basically, right? And it'll film for like 3 seconds. Yeah.
So I'll just turn the sound down a bit because it might be a bit loud over what I'm saying. Doop. This is me shooting what am I shooting? An AK-47. There you go. It does exist. Footage of me shooting a gun. Yes, it was fun. I have to say, I understand why Americans think shooting guns is fun, because it is fun. It's just that you shouldn't have them at home because it makes you 7 times more likely to be killed with a gun. But yeah, a shooting range in another country, it's a little less bothersome to me than actually people having handguns in this country. And they do have shooting ranges in this country as well, by the way. So let's have a look at my terrible shooting ability. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, there's one near. There's the one near the middle. There you go. That one. Oh, I'm putting the wrong place. That's. Oh, there's a hole. There's a hole in the X. There you go. Totally killed that person with a gun. Let's move on. Oh, they've got a hand grenade. 6-shooter, hand grenade. This is me shooting a 6-shooter very badly. I think I missed the whole lot of them.
Well, I want to get him in as well.
They got a massive kick on them. And they're dead loud as well. It's all one of the things that you see in Hollywood movies where people like shoot a gun next to someone's ear and it doesn't deafen them. It's bullshit. If I didn't have my headphones, my headgear on there, I would totally get deafened by that. He's aiming. He's aiming. And he missed! See, I'll make a terrible cowboy in real life. Yes! I hit one. Oh, my hand's disappeared. Yes! I don't think I hit any others. Right, moving swiftly on. So that was my 6 bullets of fame. That's me mate H. She's been over to Ginger Island actually. H. We met in Cambodia, and she was a little bit better at the gun than I was. Now I use a 6-shooter. She looks like she's using a different gun. But basically, I think she had 6 bullets or something. Let's see how she does. I think she did a bit better than me. Go on, shoot the bloody gun, will you? Getting impatient watching this. Yep. She hit it. She hit the target.
Cartridge fly out there and just like nearly got me in the eye.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Cartridges fly out of guns and hit you in the face. There's a movie where he says don't hold the gun on the side because it'll hit you in the face. There you go, look at that. She hit all 3 targets there. And then they go out, they put the 3 targets back up. Watch. She's only got 6 bullets. I think she does all 6. Yes! I haven't watched this footage in a very long time. I'm just like going on what I remember. Go on, H. Do it. Yes! She'd never shot a gun before in her life. She's British. She's British. She never shot a gun before in her life. She's a bit good at that.
Yeah.
Oh, one more shot. If there's ever a zombie apocalypse, you need to give H a call. Alright? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, it's pretty good. Okay, so moving on. This is, oh god, this is another horrific day. So a bit of fun, shooting stuff, and then horrific day of actually going to, this was a school. This was an old school that was converted, I mentioned it earlier, into a torture camp. And these were all the people who were murdered in this building, in this actual building that I'm in at the time here. Many of these people are children. They're children. Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Khmer Rouge wouldn't have been able to do what they did and get away with it had the US not interfered in the 1960s. Well, had the French not invaded in the 1870s or whatever it was, had the Americans not interfered in the 60s, and had America not interfered in Vietnam. But these are all photographs of the dead. There's so many kids in there. And that's how it looked. Anyway, I'm going to skip through this. It's a bit bloody grim. These are the cells that people were held in. Yeah, barely big enough to, to lie down in. Yeah, you couldn't quite. If you lay down, your head was sort of hitting against the wall. You see, it was like hastily put together out of an old school, and they've tried to keep things as they were.
People can still see you, buddy.
Just some praying mantis. Here's some of the madness that is trying to get around the streets in Phnom Penh. As you can see, it's all a bit nuts. It's going out and playing pool. Big thing in Southeast Asia, or actually backpacking around the world in general. Going and playing pool. That's me with a hangover, squinting at the camera. And that looks like... Wow, everyone's trying to sell you something. That looks like Vietnam, so that's going to have to wait.
Loads of hassle on the border back there. Wouldn't let me out, but now they will. So I'm going to get my passport stamped and get back on the bus.
There we go. So, yes, on that, I'll leave you on that terrifying note. Hang on a sec. I've just got to move my cameras. Just 1 second. Let's just get rid of the screencast. Fade. Oh, I'm paused. Unpause me. Take your paws off me. You're a dreadful, dreadful person. Okay, there we go. I was still shotted. Right, so that was a little bit of footage there from Cambodia, and also it shows really for these shows. I should edit the footage before I show it, because it is like, here's one day when I'm doing something quite fun. I'm in a fun park going down a fun slide, and then the next day it's like I'm filming someone's grave, and it's like, yeah, bit okay. But yes, probably should edit this footage before I show it to everyone. Kalashnikov says, you can do that. Yes, AK-47. A hell of a kick. Do you know what I realised when I fired that bloody thing? I realised in the Hollywood movies, when they've all got AK-47s, haven't they? All the bad guys have always got AK-47s. And they're shooting at the good guy. And the good guy's running. And they're shooting at him. And they're like from above. So they've got like a higher position. And you're thinking, how the hell are they missing? How the hell are they missing? It's nonsense. Nonsense. That actor has got plot armour on. And the character, has got plot armour on, and they can't possibly die. Actually, having fired an AK-47, the reason why they don't get hit is because the AK-47 is the worst gun ever made. It is ridiculously bad for trying to shoot at anything. I couldn't hit a barn door with an AK-47 if you put it on automatic mode. If you put it on single shot mode, yeah, you can aim. You can probably just have a hell of a kick. So whatever you're aiming at, generally you've got to aim a bit lower, so then the kick happens, or just hold it really tightly. But I wasn't that au fait with guns. It was the first thing I ever fired. Yeah, if you put it on automatic mode or semi-automatic mode, is when you hold down the trigger and it fires more than one bullet out. It just goes straight up. It just goes straight up in the air, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then you're constantly chasing the error. You're trying to bring the gun down to shoot at the thing that you're trying to shoot at, but the gun just wants to go up in the air. Which is it's why people shoot the guns in the air. You know, when you see footage of people in, like, I don't know, the Middle East, and they're firing guns up in the air. It's a really bad idea, by the way, because the bullets come back down and they really fucking injure people because they're made of metal and they're falling from a great height because they go up quite high and then they come back down. Yeah, anyway, they shoot it in the air because I guess that it doesn't kick anyway. It just goes, I don't know. Anyway, I think the US interfered because the French wanted to re-establish pre-World War II colonialism in Southeast Asia. Am I mistaken? I don't think it was the French. I mean, the French started the war in Vietnam, actually, in the 50s. But the Americans sort of took it over and ran with it. But it wasn't because the French were causing problems for the Americans because they were NATO allies at the time. It was more to do with the fact that 10 years earlier in Korea, they had a similar thing where North Korea, which was communist, wanted to take over South Korea. So there was a civil war and the Americans came in the side of the South. And in the end, the country was partitioned into North Korea and South Korea. That war's still not over, by the way. It's only a ceasefire. There's been no treaty drawn up between North and South Korea. They're still technically at war. And the Americans thought they could do exactly the same thing in Vietnam and contain the communists in the north, the Hanoi area, and Saigon, the south, could continue being separate. However, the Americans, whereas in Korea, they managed to successfully achieve their objectives to a certain degree. I think they would have preferred for the southern Korean government to take over the whole of the country, but at least they had South Korea. And don't forget, like 1979, the year I was born, South Korea was on a par with Afghanistan in terms of the Human Development Index. I mean, it was really low down, and it's an actual modern miracle. South Korea, how it's gone from almost the very bottom of the League of Nations. I know that doesn't really exist, but I mean, you know, the index of human development, it's gone from near the bottom to near the top. Whereas Afghanistan, I'm sorry to say, it's pretty much stayed where it was. But the Americans thought they could do the same thing. They thought, yeah, you know, that worked there, it will work here. In the same way that Tony Blair looked at what happened in Sierra Leone when the Blood Diamond forces of the Liberians had come over the border and started causing trouble. It looked like the capital, Freetown, was about to fall to the rebels, and Tony Blair sent in some British squaddies, and they basically secured the country within the matter of days. I mean, it was an incredible success, and the Sierra Leoneans are still quite kind of grateful for the British for intervening in that, the British Army anyway. Whereas, I can't give Tony Blair the full kudos for that, because there was actually a British commander who was put into Freetown to get the British out. They were to get the British and the diplomats, all that lot, out of the capital, because it looked like the capital was about to fall to the rebels. And he said, actually, we've got enough manpower here to stop this war, because he realised that a lot of the people fighting it were actually child soldiers who just wanted to put the guns down and run away. And so Tony Blair looked at that, and he looked at the success of the first Gulf War, which was successful because the objective was to get the Iraqis out of Kuwait, which happened, and also the success of Kosovo, when intervention by NATO in Kosovo led to the pulling back of Serbian forces, and Serbia at the time was committing atrocities in Kosovo, and yeah, it was successful. So, you know, he looked at that and he went, oh well, that will work in Iraq if we go back. It didn't, and it just made a really bad situation worse and affected all the neighbours in Iraq, and caused the deaths of millions of people have died in the Middle East in the last 20 years as a result of Tony Blair and George W. Bush going into that stupid fucking war. And you know, the Syrian civil war wouldn't still be going on now to this day had it not been for the Iraq war. And the Americans were like that as well. I mean, it was interesting that it took a long time from the intervention in a civil conflict in Vietnam to another intervention in a civil conflict, like we're just going to supply some weapons to the Mujahideen, like they did in Afghanistan, but actually invading Afghanistan, which at the time was arguably still in a state of civil unrest, civil war, with the Taliban in charge. That was 26 years. 26 years from, you know, where America, save for a quick invasion of Panama and Grenada, didn't really go in for any kind of civil conflicts, because it had its fingers burnt in Vietnam, well and truly. It went into somebody else's backyard and got its arse handed to it. And the Vietnamese lost a lot of people. You couldn't really call it a victory for the Viet Minh, or the Viet Cong as the Americans called them. But at the same time, it definitely wasn't a success for the Americans. It cost the lives of thousands of American soldiers and gave PTSD to tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of American soldiers, because it's one thing fighting a war and seeing your buddies getting blown up and it being horrific and winning, and then there's taking part in the war and seeing your buddies getting blown up and losing the war. You can't then turn around and say, well, it was all worth it. All that sacrifice was worth it if you lost, can you? So, yeah. if America hadn't gone into Vietnam, good chance that Khmer Rouge wouldn't have got into power. Good chance that Cambodia wouldn't be full of landmines, and that Laos, neighbouring Laos, land of 1 million elephants, which is now really the land of 1 million landmines, wouldn't be covered in landmines. Yuli Kaluda says, at the Potsdam Conference in 1945, the Allies declared that the French were the rightful owners of Indochina. Yeah, that's because the Japanese had invaded, hadn't they? So, yeah. But just hold the AK-47 sideways. Just go around in circles. Sit on a chair. Chinese-built AK-47s are worse than the Czech ones. Czech partly developed the Bren gun. Oh, well, maybe they know what they're doing. Okay, right. It is past midnight. I've gone on far too long on this episode of Hughes of the World. I'm going to give the link to the Discord server, and then there's people watching it on the Discord server as we speak. They're probably just going on about, is he going to stop talking at any point about Vietnam? I'm just thinking, like, Vietnam, it's going to take a long time for me to get to the V's, isn't it? It's going to like 3 years before I get to the V's, at least over 3 years. So I may as well talk a little bit about it now. And Thailand's going to take a while to get to. Even Laos is going to take a while to get to. So, yeah, if you would like to join us on the Discord server, and I'll be over there in a moment, chatting to you all because you're all delightful. Christian Cruz says, no, Laos was bombed because North Korea shot down an American plane. Yeah, it makes perfect sense when you put it like that. It's like seeing someone getting mugged across the street and then punching the person next to you and going, I'm helping. Right. So I'm going to just make a link to the Discord server. This link will self-destruct after 6 hours. Don't try and use it if you're watching this on catch-up. Good night all, says Just Me and You Videos. The US really inherited this terrible conflict. That's true. They did. Haru, he's this number 5. Thank you. Surely you've been courted by universities to teach. $10 super chat. No. To put it bluntly, no, it doesn't happen. I mean, I guess I could go out there and try and get a job at a university or something, but the idea that someone sees something that you've done and then knocks on your front door and says, hey, I like the cut of your jib. It doesn't well, maybe it happens in other countries. It certainly doesn't happen in the UK. Yeah, for various reasons, which I bang on about a lot in my TV show, not my TV shows. I'm not allowed to mention it in my TV shows, on my shows. So just before I go, the reason why I was in Glasgow on Thursday, and the reason why I couldn't do this at the time, was I'd been invited to be in the audience for a game show in the UK called Richard Osman's House of Games. It's basically a panel show where you have 4 celebrities and they have to answer questions. And I was invited to be in the audience as an expert, along with Louise Brown, the very first test tube baby, one of the people working on a Mars rover, one of the scientists working on a Mars rover, and one of the Teletubbies, Dipsy, the Teletubby. And the panel were given questions, and they said you can pick someone from the audience, and they might be able to help you out. And my question was, which country has the most powerful passport? Which country has the best passport for traveling? Which country do you need the fewest visas to visit countries around the world? And my answer to this was, well, the British passport used to be quite good, but these days it's Japan. Because I wanted to get a little dig in about Brexit. Yeah, you digging me? Yeah. Anyway, they finished the show. This is like Dara O'Brien was on there as well. Dara O'Brien, lovely bloke. And they all went off, and they said we're going to do some pickups, and they wanted me to do my answer again. So I said the same thing I said the first time, and he said, "Can you just say Japan?" So I went, "Okay, BBC, Japan," and they went, "Thank you." Last, you gobby ginger, bloody anti-Brexit scouser. I don't know. Patrick McCarthy, interventional. Thanks for your lesson. That's okay. You are Poe of the Teletubbies. Fact. says Wayne in Basildon. Austrian passport, surely. Indeed. Swiss. No, it's Japanese. It's Japanese. The Irish one's pretty good, but not as good as the Japanese. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thanks for watching. I will be back tomorrow at 1 for Hughes round. And we've shunted the girls off for the day. So I'm going to be doing a show during the day. And hopefully I'm going to try and do a show tomorrow evening to catch up with the shows that I've missed. Obviously, the preceding Thursday and Thursday just gone of Hughes of the World. I haven't done my shows, which I should have done, and it's very remiss of me. So tomorrow at 10 o'clock, you could join me here for a show about Cameroon, the river of prawns. That's what Cameroon means. Yes, if you would like to join me for a show about the African country of Cameroon, nestled in there between Nigeria, Chad, Central African Republic, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea. Yeah, you want me on your quiz team. Join me tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Otherwise, yes, I'm going to head over to the Discord server. And also, if you want to see me tomorrow, just talking about news, politics, the fact that it looks like the horrific bag of custard that is our Prime Minister seems to have bred again. This is the man who railed against overpopulation, now seems to have 17 fucking children. Well, he has just converted to Catholicism, which is a joke I can make because I come from a half Protestant, half Catholic family. Don't at me. This is taking it a bit far. Okay, I have an Irish book. Where's the link? I put it in what do you mean? Where's the link? I put it in. Discord. Everyone to the Discord server. Actually, I don't think the link's coming up. Right, I've put it straight into the YouTube link there. Okay, is that okay? Are we on? I don't know. Maybe I've lost signal. I don't know. Wayne, get on the link. I'll go and see you on Discord. And until then, to Wayne, everyone else watching, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Fair winds and following seas, traveller.